What up, though? Hola, mi gente. It's your host who in the neighborhood and the streets the most, J Hodge with In Your Hood, InYourHood.com. And welcome to another news segment of Hood Sites, where you already know what we're doing. We're plugging you with information. And most importantly, what we're plugging you with is information that you do not know. We disrupting the information that you do not know. And we giving you information and more knowledge on the things that you may already know a little bit something about. And like I always say, I start my mornings off at 4:30 in the morning. I'm reading every morning. And so I'm choosing selective readings for each news segment to provide to you as the public. Now, before I get started, as always, I gotta give you an insider. We gotta give you some insider information. Inflation. Inflation and shortages is affecting everything. The unemployment rate, the amount of jobs available, and the amount of jobs that are vacant is affecting everything. So I talk always about the Federal Reserve and the Federal Open Market Committee, but there's another important thing to pay attention to. The United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, because that affects you as an investor and that information affects you as a consumer. If people are working, that means they getting cash flow. That means money is being spent. That also means that the unemployment rate is low, which also means interest rates are stable. They become stable. And inflation, it becomes stabilized too. Because the more money earned as prices rise, that doesn't take effect on the dollar because people are making more money although prices may be rising. But in the end all be all, people can afford to have more because they make more. But what's going on now is that the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics has released reports on what the job market looks like. From payrolls to job creation to job availability. And what's happening right now is there are more jobs being supplied than there are being filled. Businesses are having a hard time finding skilled employees to fill these positions. Some wages are rising. For example, Chipotle Mexican Grill rose their wage to $15 an hour, and that still isn't filling the said positions that's available and that's open. Part of that is businesses that closed during the pandemic, they not coming back. It's a lot of businesses that's not coming back. So those are jobs that's just, they sunk. Those are sunken loss. It's a sunk. It's over. But right now, what we have is the shortages is causing production prices to rise, which if the production price rises, which means the cost that it takes to make something, no matter what it is, or the cost it takes to provide something, no matter what it is. If the price of that and the cost of that is rising, guess what else is going to rise? The output, which meaning that the price of that good or that service is going to rise too. Who does that affect? The consumer, the investor. From the investor side, if you are an investor, you know that these statistics are falling short of expectations and are falling short of any signs or signaling that the economy is truly recovering. Not that numbers are meeting the average of what a stable economy looks like, but that the economy is truly recovering. Meaning, it's not enough. Job creation is not enough. Jobs being filled, not enough. And when it comes to supply chain, what these companies already have on hand versus what they need going into the future, not enough. And so, naturally, prices are going to rise. And that is going to affect everybody. Corporations, suppliers, manufacturers, laborers, consumers, investors. So again, in addition to the Federal Open Market Committee, please check out and be aware and be conscious and be aware and be conscious of the U.S. Department of Labor statistics, because that matters. You can't ignore that. You can't neglect that because it affects you. And everybody truly cares about their money, that cash, that bread. And you want to know how your bread is being affected. You want to know how your money is being affected. And so, that is an insider as to what's going on at a national level and global level, because it's not just the United States. If countries overseas are not able to get the productivity that's needed to get the global market going back at its normal rate and at its normal capacity, its normal production, that affects the production that's had over here. Because there are components, there's pieces, there's parts that companies are missing to produce. And when pieces and parts is missing, you don't have a complete or a whole product or service. And for the future, you're not even able to get started on the plans and the planning and the production that you had scheduled for next year. So it affects a whole lot of things, but at a basic level, prices rising, shortage on gas, that's happening. So of course, the price of gas is going to rise. People are not earning more money, and dollars are being devalued day by day. So, as an investor in the market, in the stock market, of course, you're going to do whatever you can to receive more gains in a market that's losing, that's declining. And based on these statistics, people have sold. They've sold their positions. So whatever stock they had, they've sold and they've went elsewhere. And they're looking, and everybody's positioning themselves as an investor into the company that when the economy opens and reopens and the vaccines are fully deployed and everything gets back to an average and normal level, those companies that are going to expand and going to be explosive because of what sector they in and what product or service they offering, those are how investors are positioning themselves. As a consumer, savings, whatever money you are getting, not spending as much, saving more, and you should be investing it, whether it's buying a new house or whether it's getting into stocks or whether it's cryptocurrency. You have to do something with that money, because as you see, when that money sits still and is not invested in any place, it can be quickly diminished and quickly and very, 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 very rapidly diminished because of inflation. And that's happening right now. Okay, today's news segment is called and named Darren E. Bryant makes history as youngest black mayor in Illinois. Continuing. Let's brighten things up. Darren E. Bryant takes office after an election victory against Mayor Tyrone Ward in April, becoming the youngest black mayor in Illinois history. After receiving 52% of the votes, the 29-year-old would take the seat as the mayor of the village of Robbins in Illinois. Continuing. I would like to thank God for this moment, Bryant told the Chicago Defender, one of the oldest black newspapers in existence. It feels good, but it's a part of me and my DNA being from Robbins. Robbins has a history of African American pioneers, and once being a center of black culture in Illinois is astonishing. This is the people's victory, more so than mine, and it feels amazing to get it done for the people. End quote from Darren Bryant. How Bryant became the youngest black mayor in Illinois. Bryant has been actively involved in public service since he was a child. He says that both of his parents were elected officials, giving him exposure to local elections at an early age. Continuing. Bryant kicked off his political ambitions while at Kentucky State University. He served as junior class president for the Student Government Association. After graduation, Bryant returned to Robbins to serve as a commissioner and vice president at Robbins Park District. At the age of 25, he was elected as village trustee of Robbins. Continuing. Now, Bryant will be the youngest black mayor in Illinois. Incorporated in 1917, Robbins is one of the oldest black communities in the United States. Mayor-elect Bryant unveils plans for Robbins. Although Robbins has a rich history, the village has suffered from economic disparities that have crippled community advancement. According to Chicago Magazine, the city has seen unemployment rates around 30% and median household incomes less than $25,000 per year. Continuing. Bryant has devised an economic development plan to address these challenges. He plans to focus on the following 5 areas, and they are: commercial industrial development, 2, residential development, 3, financial development, 4, educational development, and 5, job training and creation. A quote from Darren E. Bryant, the current mayor in Robbins, Illinois. We must build our citizens, Bryant told the Chicago Defender. I call it the Big Three. We have a 38% rate poverty rate. We have 41% non-home ownership rate. And we have a 15% higher education rate. And that is a problem. What I plan to do is move the municipality as an investment machine that will empower people through residential development, job training, and creation. We don't have a business district in our community to offer amenities to our taxpayers. We have to keep the dollar within the community to regurgitate and build a strong community. End quote. End of article. So, what we have today is, again, the title of today's news segment being Darren E. Bryant makes history as youngest black mayor in Illinois. One thing to point out that we have in this news segment is that he's not first, because there's a tokenism in our culture of the first. And the first doesn't mean that you're superior. The first means that you're a trailblazer. But he's the youngest. And I appreciate that. He's the youngest black mayor in Robbins, Illinois history. And in Illinois history. What he's speaking to, his 5 points, what he called also out of the 5, the big 3, that is called group economics. Our culture is filled within our heritage and within our tradition at its origin with group economics. During segregation, group economics is the reason why we had the wealthiest black communities to ever be established since civilizations in our home continent of Africa. Now, with that being said, cultural identity is very prevalent here. And it's empowering. That's the power. There's power in our cultural identity. The morals, values, and principles is on display extremely. Because his 5 points and his 5 areas of development comes out of the morals and values and principles in black culture. Now, when we talk about the challenges, issues, and constraints, the opportunities in the areas that he's identifying are our challenges, issues, and constraints. And I'll read them off again. The 5 areas of development that he has in his plan is, again, commercial industrial development, residential development, financial development, educational development, job training, and creation. That's all a part of an economy. And we, in our culture, have to establish our own cultural economy. Chinatown is the economy. Mexican town is the economy. So, there has to be an economy established in our black communities. And this is the way it's done. We cannot neglect or ignore the political structure that surrounds our culture. And by him being in a position such as this, he's able to take effect and take impact to a further level. And now he's not only addressing the cultural challenges, issues, and constraints, but he's doing it by being guided by his cultural morals, values, and principles, and his cultural identity. And that's his cultural power and his position. Now, what else? Advancement, cultural advancement, and cultural progression. That is what he's going to establish through his solutions. This is about advancement. of the Robbins community, of the black community. And what's being done there, once he executes, can be replicated everywhere. But where does it start? You notice it started with his parenting. And in the black community, we have to recognize in our culture, when our parents succeed, the children succeed. Again, when a parent succeeds, the child succeeds. So seeing as he had a two-parent household, his mother and father succeeded at being elected officials. That in turn influenced. And not only that, it motivated and aspired him to be an elected official himself. And he had all the tools necessary and the illustrations, the exact embodiments and models right in front of him, living in his household day to day. So being an elected official himself was a righteous path. It was a what they call it, a rites of passage. It was natural. And so, even if in our communities when we don't have a two-parent household, if the single mother, or the single father succeeds, the child will succeed. But more so, this is an illustration of the impact, the cultural impact that having two successful parents have on black children, black girls and black boys. So in group economic development and in group economics, there's also teamwork, collaboration. And the collaboration is between the mother and the father. So there should be no divisiveness or division amongst mothers and fathers, married or unmarried, living together or not living together, baby mama or baby daddy, it doesn't matter. Both parents should strive to be successful, so in turn all the children involved and affected can also be successful. And all adults, black men and black women alike, should be working together as a group to economically create advantages for the children that are involved and that are affected. And this can all be done. But what this lesson from this news segment is, in group economics, there is no superiority, and there is no divisiveness, no division. We all have to work together, whether it's your child or not, in relationships, whether parents are together or not. All adults involved have to be successful and have to pull together their financial resources to be successful, for the children to be successful and to have advantages. So with that being said, if you're not getting along with whoever you created your children with, then there has to be a change, and a drastic one. Change in habit, change in mindset. Because if you pull all the people together that love the children, then the children can succeed and exceed all expectations, and therefore cycles and generational curses are broken. But if there continues to be chaos, conflict, and turmoil, that's divisiveness, and a divided house does not win. And a burning house does not stabilize. So, with that being said, today what we have is a strong display of cultural identity, cultural morals, values, and principles that identify the core cultural challenges, constraints, and issues. The solution is already being given, the cultural creative solution, and now the execution will create that cultural advancement and legacy and progression that can be carried on for generations. But we cannot neglect the structures that surround, and not only surround, but also can cause harm to our culture. And politics has long caused harm to our culture. So, the best way for that to be amended, and the best way for that to be defended against, and for us to have defensibility, cultural defensibility, is for things like this to occur, where we have our children becoming elected officials and focusing on at a municipal level and going further to state levels to put protective measures in place. But then at the ground level, we have to change our habits in actions and behavior and become group oriented and not individually oriented. But like I always say, visit the website www.inyourhood.com. Sign up for a free account. Also, check out every aspect of the website. 24/7 lecture videos, 24/7 live television episodes from our television series, Where's Jay Hodge, A Journey in These Streets, and a bunch of education and reading materials. We have True Essence of Black History. We have local black news, domestic black news, and global black news. And we have black businesses that you may have never seen, heard, or recognized, that you can get familiar with and do business with. And we are forever looking for more, all sorts, all industry types. And do not forget to be aware and be conscious of the Department of the U.S. Bureau Labor of Statistics, the Federal Reserve Bank, and the Federal Open Market Committee, and the current inflation, the current shortages, the current pandemic expansion, vaccinations, and the economy outlook, and how things are going to take place and mature the next 2 to 3 years post COVID-19. Because that is going to affect your money, your household, your pockets, your bread. And like I always say, I'm going to get on y'all tomorrow.